Team Vector.
What up, Aces? This is your Time Lord, Leroy, and our manager of the mermaids,
Miss Mimi.
And today we actually have more of a throwback podcast today.
Yep, there's a cool community event coming up.
Due to a very special tournament coming up, which Professor Mimi will further go into. And it's all going to be related around the G era.
Yep.
So today's episode is going to be more about us reminiscing on what the meta was at the beginning of G to how it came out towards the end. Meaning we'll go through all the highs of happiness, all the darkest lows, and everything in between.
There's a lot of good times too.
Dark times. There have been a lot of dark times in G though too.
Oh yeah. There was, it ended with the Great Bermuda Blackout of 2018 or whatever.
Yep, but take it away, Mimi.
Oh, alright, so a fellow fledgling Vanguard tuber, Discord community, whatnot, called JP's Curtain Calling Crew is hosting a community G-era tournament coming up on January 9th at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. On Discord, on their Discord channel specifically. And the signups end on the 7th. If you want to get access to the tournament, then all what you need to do is you're going to have to find their YouTube channel and then get an invite to the Discord. Or you could ask me on our Discord to send you an invite, and I'll be happy to. And once you're there, you need to get a @cleared role to show that you're not some kind of degenerate cheater who's just here to ruin everybody's day by having a fight against one of the moderators with a camera that can see more than just your field, that can see the area around it and your face. I have a double camera set up on my computer because I'm a fancy streamer lady, so I can have one pointed at my board and then one pointed at me, and then I have my green screen up and I'm like transplant over it, and then I do a fancy virtual webcam thingy. But most people will just have a alternate account on their phone that they'll set up next to them, just like has to show that them playing so that somebody can check that alternate camera to see that they are not cheating, and then their normal camera on their computer. So you'll see some of the fight tables will be weird. There'll be like 4 people in there and it's actually just 2, or there'll be 6 if somebody's absolutely crazy. But for the actual rules of the tournament, it's kind of strange. So they're using the current ban list, even though we're using only G-era cards, so nothing that has that little V symbol. None of the new promos, none of the stuff from Premium Collection, only stuff that was printed in G-era. And the bannable cards, or the banned cards and restricted cards on the current list go Magical Calico, which cannot be your first Vanguard, Cosmo Pixie Lisbeth, restricted to 1, Commander Laurel, the OG, oh yeah, that's right, we're stuck playing the OG cards, is restricted to 1, Dr. Rodrefros is restricted to 1, Delight Genius Ange is restricted to 1, Dreamer Kruk is restricted to 1, Luxury Wave Ellie is banned, Epitone of Knowledge Sylvest is banned by its own effect, I don't know why they wrote that, Seven Seas Apprentice Night Runner is restricted to 1, Seven Seas Hellsman Night Crow is restricted to 1, and Goddess of Sound Sleep Taro is restricted to 1. And they have some very interesting rules, so they'll be using the old OG Stride rules and the OG G-Assist and the OG Mulligan, but they will be using the new guard rules, which means you can circumvent dust. So if you're, when your Vanguard becomes grade 1 and you can't guard with grade 2s in your hand, you can do that now. So that's a hit to DI if you are planning on playing DI guard restrict memes, then you just got countered by the rules. I'm sorry. I actually do know somebody who's planning to do that. So I really am sorry, but everybody else isn't going to be very upset about that at all. And I'm planning on playing Bermuda Triangle, but I haven't submitted my list to them yet. I'm hammering out the last 2 tech slots. I think it's pretty spicy. But and of course, the winner of this tournament, I would love to have on the podcast to speak with us about it. Assuming, of course, they can beat me, which is unlikely. And if I win the tournament, which, not to brag, but I'm feeling pretty confident about this, then maybe, I'll have on whoever got second place to talk on about how the rest of the tournament went. But I mean, honestly, I might not win the whole thing. Who knows? So it'll be a fun competition, and I would love to have on whoever wins to talk with us about the whole thing. But before then, since this is going up, if I manage to make everything go smoothly in the back end, this should be coming out on the 4th, which means y'all got 2 days left to sign up for it. If you're watching this today, the day it comes out. But maybe I'll put it out earlier on like Friday, and we can get like 2 podcasts in 1 week, so everybody knows that so that people will have 5 days instead of 2, so they have the whole weekend to prepare. I think one of those things will be happening. I'll be doing my best. But we should be talking about the whole meta and whatnot, so people who maybe don't know too much about the history of G and this whole tournament can kind of get some perspective on what's going on. So we have to go way, way, way back to the before times, because before G, there was one G unit made in the Legion era. What card would that be, Leroy?
That actually would be the first copy of Neon Messiah.
From that movie pack, right?
And it was a movie promo that came out during the Neon Messiah Vanguard movie. This is where we were this was our first canon anime movie for a card game. Like, I think I'm being completely honest. I think this was the first canon card game movie.
Yeah, I forgot it was
before Dark Side Dimensions ever came out. We had the first canon card game movie.
Yeah, I think so. Wow, that's actually really cool. I didn't know that.
This is where we were introduced to the leaders. This is where we got to see the Aichi version of Saviors. So we got a lot for Seekers. This is where we saw the Aichi version of Seekers, not Savers. We saw the Aichi version of Seekers with Alfred the 14th.
I don't remember Alfred.
And all the other fun Legion cards that followed suit.
Oh yeah, there was some really interesting ones in there.
Yeah, but at the end of Legion, we entered into the new ability of the G era. And this is also where clans started getting reconstructed. It was almost like G after the movie. It was like at this point when the movie came out, all the clans got kind of destroyed and rebuilt from scratch.
Yeah, well, all the ones aside from Nubatama, because that's their clan mechanic. That's what they were designed to do.
Yeah. But we started off with when G era started, we got introduced to actually a few things. First, this was the first clan we got first set. We got the introduction to Gear Chronicle, which was the first set that got introduced to the ability called G-Breaking. G-Breaking is related to a special zone, which is, if you've played Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's your extra deck. This was the first time we ever got an extra deck. And that was be considered your G-Zone. If you're playing current standard, the G-Zone is virtually where Gear Chronicles Grade 4s would originally be before they got made into a main deck placement.
Yeah, it's too bad that they weren't like cool like they weren't like Grade 4 or super tokens or something, because you got to put in your gift zone. But I guess they didn't want to make the clan too unique or whatever. I get that.
Yep. But this is where G era is where we got introduced to the new Trinity, which was Chronojet Dragon, Altmile, and Asha. But along with them, other clans got introduced to certain units. We had Kagero got revealed to introduce Blade Master.
There was Susano for OTT.
Susano. We also got introduced to Victor.
Yep.
And this is where we started the G era.
Yep. Those were the first things, but those were the first clans to get the support from set 1. However, I think the meta at this time was still
it was still Seekers. It was still, honestly, the meta was just Seekers at the Neon Messiah promo, plus whatever was given to Royals during the first booster set 1 generation stride.
Yeah, I think though I think that clan fight restrictions started with G era, right? Or
Clan fights actually started a little bit further back.
yeah, further back. Oh yeah. No wait.
Once every clan had at least a full deck is when they started using clan fights.
No, because the meta for like near the end of G era was this disgusting like Chaos Saver Abyss or Sing Saver Abyss deck where you used Sing Saver and the Phantom Blaster Dragon Abyss. You used both of those legions. It was some gross stuff. I think, but I'm not sure if that was still meta at the beginning of G because I didn't get to play in like almost any tournaments at the beginning of G.
It honestly wasn't meta at G. The real meta still was like Savior, was Seekers and Dragonic Overlord. But this is also where they got their last Stride unit. And not Stride, sorry. They got their last Legion. And that was the original Dragonic Overlord, the Cross.
Oh yeah, that was in this set, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I totally forgot that was a G era card. It's pretty sick, honestly.
Yeah, and then... Oh, wait, that's right. We forgot one other deck that was meta during this time. Risers.
Were Risers meta? Damn.
Yeah, Legion Risers.
Oh yeah, Battle. I totally forgot this was
Butler.
Legion era. Don't sleep on them. Cat Butler's disgusting. Yeah, that was a real thing.
Butler.
That was scary.
Target the grade 2. Restand the Vanguard. Let's keep swinging.
Hold on, I'm getting a Discord call from my aunt. Just 1 second. I have to. One recording. Okay. But I played against that at a tournament like last year. That like basically the deck card for card. I almost lost. It was so strong. If they open well, they just kind of delete you.
And it hurt.
Yep. Luckily he opened middlingly.
Understatement.
And then.
But that pretty much stayed for just a little bit, and then we went into the next set following that was the Soaring Ascent of Gale and Blossom.
Yeah, that's when they actually got the Asha stuff, right?
This is when Asha actually started getting more of her actual support. Like, we had her trial deck, but then this was like where you got more of the support. So we had Asha, we got her strides. Alt Miles got more of his strides here. We got introduced to Dragonic Vanquisher.
Poor Vanquisher.
We got introduced to Aquaforce with Lambros and we got Big Belly. We got all this craziness. This is when we started still getting more, as well as this is also one of those times where Gear Chronicle, while like supposed to be the main clan, was still struggling to catch it, was struggling to find its place.
Yeah, most of the early sets in G didn't shake up things too much. Like Overlord's, or like the meta was kind of too much for most of these little like interesting cards to pop off because they were trying to establish these clans versus like the very established archetypes of the end of the Legion era. They couldn't stand up to him too much, but there was still lots of cool things in their potential. Like Lambros is just an amazing card, and a Big Belly I think had a lot. I got quite a lot of use out of it in the end. He never became meta, but he was always really strong. And poor Vanquisher always got so much hype up for him in all of his decks, all throughout G. But he would always just was never very good. I think no, except for the very last one. At the very end, he got pretty good. But like that whole time, I'm pretty sure like the subreddit worshipped him like he was like the greatest deck of all time. It was so weird.
Yeah. But then this is also when they started introducing the special crits, and triggers started actually having effects that meant something.
Yeah, they didn't have before triggers. Like the best triggers in the game existed, and they were very few and far between. You had Psychic Bird clones like it and Ruffsy's Banshee, which were just amazing. You had cards like Lozenge Magus that could shuffle them back into the deck, but there weren't too many good cards.
You had Bluish Flames with their stand trigger, but that was about it.
Yeah, like there weren't very many, but now they're starting to make like there's these really good crits that would slide into your soul, draw you a card, and give your Vanguard +10 if you were using the generic Stridebearer. And they had this was like the beginning of the stands with skills, because nobody had people would run just crits and draws for the longest time, but then they started printing like really amazing skills on stand triggers just to try and force you to play them.
Speaking of stands with skills, one stand with skill that came out actually during GBT2 was one of my favorite boys, who's still a good boy, Vainglory Dream Gearcat. His skill was once per turn, GB1, meaning you needed one face-up unit in your G zone to consider a GB1. When your opponent rearguard is put into his or her deck due to the effect of one of your cards, choose one of your other units and you may have it get plus 10k until the end of turn. If you do, return this unit to your deck and shuffle your deck.
Hard once per turn. Oh wait, but it goes back to your deck. What? Who cares? It's not a.
It was a stand trigger that went back to deck.
Yeah, fake once per turn. Very fake.
Exactly, but it was still a trigger, and it went back to deck.
Oh, so you can't do standby shenanigans with it. I understand. Now I get it.
Yeah, but it was still one of the first few triggers. It was one of those triggers that was really good, and it was part of that group that started bringing triggers with effects that were viable into the game.
Oh yeah, go. Sorry.
And triggers were just getting more and more outrageous as time went. So it's not even like, it wasn't even like, oh, a trigger's not that decent. Triggers are, nah. No, triggers kept getting better and better from this point on. But the meta really still hadn't changed much. It was still about the same. But you started seeing the other clans start slowly building up. But it was still kind of only the guys from previous, where Legion was concerned. But then it started to slowly shift out, and all the G era, the legitimate G era decks started slowly getting into their own with the release of Sovereign Star Dragon.
Let's see. Sovereign Star Dragon had, some of the busted Link Joker card.
This is when Messiah started. This is when the Messiah archetype was first introduced.
The very cool,
Joker.
very cool archetype. But at the time, they didn't have enough pieces. They were so expensive though, because you needed to get all those GRs, which were like one a case at this point, right?
Yeah. You were also introduced to Shadow Paladin's new builds. You had Murakumo, Dark Irregulars. Kagero kept getting a little more support. But then we also got introduced to more Cray Elementals.
It's so much potential with Cray Elementals, and they're starting to get realized now, but at the time there was like
in this set, we actually had something funny. We had first gotten the actual Break Ride version for Phantom Blaster Dragon.
Oh right, that's the new skill, Phantom Blaster Dragon. I was like, why did it get a reprint in this set? So strange. Yeah, but it's
it got its Break Ride counterpart.
Yeah.
Just like the Organic Overlord got theirs.
Yeah.
But this is where we got introduced to, and I think it's funny because this set is introduced to two monsters that currently sort of related to sitting up who sit right now. This is when Shadow Paladin got introduced to their new boy Claret Sword Dragon. as well as this was the first time we got Sunrise Ray Knight Gurgit.
Oh yeah, look at that artwork. Oh, so pretty.
Then we also had, who else was part, what other grade 3, who are the other 3s of this set for this clan? We have Magatsu.
Oh, Fenrir came out in this set too, that was nice.
We had Magatsu, we had the actual introduction to Yasuie, which is kind of funny because now he's a threat again.
Yeah.
He's actually a threat now.
He's pretty alright.
We had Shaharat.
Was that who I believe was strictly worse than Glenzen Vampire, I believe? I believe, was that in this set? Let's see. I believe it was a rare. Glenzen. Maybe he was a double rare.
Yeah, but this was still the first time we got introduced to Shaharat.
Yeah.
Now look at the big boy.
Yeah, now Shaharat's like good as a card, but I think this first one is notorious for among Dark regular players for being unplayable garbage, because
oh yes,
I'm pretty sure it is actually a strictly worse version of the other guy. I guess he wasn't in this set because there's no way he's a common.
Yeah,
he must have been older.
But this was also when we actually started getting tech cards.
Yeah, like those the Cray Elementals are stick tech. They've got like ones that they do all sorts of crazy stuff, but they don't. Some of the crazy stuff isn't very useful. Some of it is. Like one of them lets you just unlock one of your units, which got teched into a lot of decks during the Chaos meta. There's some terrible ones that like change the Legion cost if you're really worried about playing against Sing Saver Abyss, which I believe was kind of still meta. Actually, I don't know if that card came out at this point, but
the meta still hadn't completely changed out yet.
None of the new stuff is really shaking it up, but we're slowly introducing more options and whatnot that were kind of like enriching the game, because power creep's kind of scary. It kind of ruins the game, and right now the game's kind of just healthily cruising along. People are enjoying the tournament scene, and until some certain friends of ours are going to be coming up in just a little bit to ruin everything. But the next set after this was a clan booster for Bermuda, so nothing was ruined because it was full of garbage. But it's my favorite kind of garbage. This had one of the best stand triggers in the game. In it, Dreamer Kruk, who, fun fact about this set, all the rares got like a weird double rare printing instead. It was very nice. So even though it's printed as a rare, you can get this rare double rare foiling for Kruk and all the other cards in this set, which gave Prisms enough support to be playable, actually, with and their own stride, with Olivia being a good aggressive option as well, with Texan from Admired Sparkle Spica. You can actually take that deck from being non-existent to playable. It wasn't going to take down any tournaments or whatever, especially not if you were going to try with any of the other build, like Loris, or maybe Mir was fine. I never actually tried it in G era, but it was a nice diversification. They gave a healthy diversification. The reason I say Kruk, if you don't remember, at the very beginning I said Kruk is currently limited. That card is very strong.
Yep.
It's one of those stands with skills. But then after that,
it was a very strong set. But after that, we lead into one of my favorite times of the early portions of G, when Gear Chronicle was actually a viable option to play.
Oh, this is when I forgot they've been introducing special mechanics this whole time. Have we? Has everybody been?
They never. No, keywords were not introduced yet.
Well, this one introduces Thunderstrike and Oracle. And the last one introduced Harmony, by far the most confusing and garbage mechanic. I could make a whole video explaining Harmony and people would still be confused.
Yep. But this is where we actually started getting what the community like to call Stride Evolution.
Yeah, when the break stride gets a stride for me, so you can go from your Dragonic Vanquisher grade 3, and then you can stride a Dragonic Vanquisher grade 4. so that now you have a grade 3 and a grade 4 with options to have the name, because if you stride, you get the name of the heart and of the stride. So now you have 2 options to make, or 2 different grade levels that you can make use of those critical triggers we talked about that go to your soul, making them really good for everybody.
Yeah, this set actually was pretty good. Soul Strike against the Supreme was GBT4. And this set did a lot. Not only did it...
I was looking at set 5, my bad. Never mind. Thunderstrike is not on this set. I'm trolling. That's next set.
GBT4. This is where we got introduced to Genesis's grade 3. Fenrir, Megaconi introduced us to Darkface. We got Metatron. We also got... Let's see, was there any other, like...
Dr. Royd Refros was in there. That's a very powerful stand trigger.
Yep.
It was notorious for a Refros
also...
loop, which I believe made Angel Feather meta at this point, shaking up the things quite drastically.
Yes.
I believe Fenrir was actually playable. Next stage gave Gear Chronicles some...
Ooh, boy. Ooh, boy.
You could at least play now. You can compete.
Let me talk about that boy. Let me get to that boy real quick. This was also the set where... This was that set where people started saying... This is where the Gear Chronicle hate train started. This was... The meta at this point was pretty much everybody was running a GB deck. They had most everybody had sort of phased out of non-GB style decks.
I believe because they enforced clan meta and made it so you couldn't play Sing Saver Abyss, but I don't know when precisely that happened. But it did happen.
Yeah. So everybody at this point was running GB only decks. So, but at this point the meta had turned in if you weren't running
a GB deck,
Shadow
you were
Paladin?
playing anti-GB like Prisms, which didn't need any and could play very aggressive underneath you to grade game, which becomes a very long-standing tradition in the meta, having G decks and then having like early game
Rookie
aggressive
Rush,
decks that fight against those.
decks. Yeah. This is where decks that were seeing zero play actually shifted into actual play. So with this, we got Asha started becoming more playable. Altmile became more playable, as well as he got probably one of the biggest staple G unit cards in all of Vanguard.
Well, there's a whole bunch of those in this set. Aura Geyser Doomed is in this set, and isn't that the one that's got that sick weaknesses is sin? Yeah, weaknesses is sin.
Yes.
Oh,
Weakness
this
was
set's
a complete
great.
sin for this card. We had really strong stride units in this set.
Oh yeah.
You had Aura Geyser Doom, where it retired units when it saw ones. You had Chrono Dragon next stage, which made Chrono Jet have 2 attacks in the turn like he does now, but during G era he was worse for it.
And then there was the new Altmile stride, but I don't believe that one was very impressive. Or wait, no, is this...
Divine Knight. It was Aerial Divine Knight.
Wait, no, this is the good one, isn't it? I think this one's good. Yeah, this is the good one.
This is the one that was Superior Calling.
Oh yeah, that one, very good card. I believe they still run like 2 of it.
Yep. This is also where we got Raphael and Gavriel.
Man, Gavriel's art's always phenomenal.
And yeah, so this is where a lot of Neo Nectar and everyone else got their like first really good stride.
Yeah,
this is an important card. This is also where Gear Chronicle got Upstream Dragon.
Oh, was that the one that recycled the cards to the bottom of their deck? They didn't deck out?
This was Upstream was the one that turned into a grade 1.
Oh, wait, what grade is that?
Upstream was the grade 2 that turned into a grade 1 after he attacked.
Oh, it's like Melim, and then he ran that so you could search Melim. Right.
This is before Melim was ever introduced.
Yeah, but that card was pretty good with Melim, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't you run one of it? Yeah, it was for a minute.
You ran like 1 or 2 of it because it was still a good combo piece. But this is when Yep, but this is also when stuff we really started seeing the shit. Yeah. This is also where Gears got one of their other tech options in Steam Knight Calibum, which gave Gear Chronicle a way to handle grade 0 starters.
Which were all over the place at the time, because now, nobody has starters. They're just like a bonus draw, but back in the day, your starter was kind of what defined your clan. Like, if you had a bad starter, like Bermuda, you're in a questionable situation. But if you have a good starter, like Chronodran, then you can go really far.
Yep. But speaking of Chronodran, because after this set, this is when we began the shift to skills, to clan based skills.
Yep.
Because after this set dropped, Gear Chronicle got I think all three of them got a new trial deck afterward.
I think so.
It was Gear Chronicle for sure got a trial deck right before the set 5's drop.
I'm sure Gear Chronicle got it. There were some other ones too.
Gear Chronicle got one. Gear Chronicle got a trial deck before set 5 dropped. It was more like side by side, but this is where keywords started getting introduced. So Gear Chronicle got introduced to Time Leap during this. Pale Moons came out. Oracle Think Tank got introduced. Oracle. Thunderstrike got introduced.
Link Jokers was they did need a new keyword because they had lock and delete and unlock, and no other clans got to do those things, so they're unique enough.
Yep. This is where we got introduced to Harry. This is when a lot more of Vanquisher's cards started revealing themselves. This is when Time Leap fully started coming in, but it had yet to reach its
dominance. Peak.
Its dominance?
We'll call it its peak.
Its peak. Actually, one second. This set 5 gave us Mellum. It also gave us, if I remember correctly, it gave us the other two pieces of the circuit. If it did, I'm wrong. It just took a minute for people to realize what they were doing. Because Gear Chronicle did take a minute for people to realize how to run Time Leap.
Urwater was in the set. TikTok Worker was in the set. And those are two of the biggest pieces.
Yep, there we go. It was all here. Okay, so this was exactly when Time Leap started.
This is the beginning of the dark times.
This is the beginning of the Time Leap ages. However, it took a couple months before people realized how to play Time Leap.
Yep, I was still out here playing fun Bermuda decks before I realized that I had to start playing Coral to counter Time Leap.
Because this is when people still didn't fully understand why Mellum was created. No one understood why Urwatar was created. No one understood why TikTok Worker was created. And all we had was Drawn and Metallica Phoenix. So nobody really understood what was going on until that one Japanese deck showed up. And then the meta turned into Time Leap or die.
Pretty much. You either played Time Leap or got dunked on by Time Leap. Or you, I hadn't finished the Coral deck yet, but I made this sick Coral deck, I finished it like a week before they finally got off of Time Leap, but it was this sick cross-ride turbo deck, because they attack for 11, infinite times, and plus, while they do so, and it doesn't cost anything, it's fine, but when they're attacking you all those times, it's for 11, so if you're at 13, well, so what if they attack you for infinite amounts of 11k attacks? If you're 13, you're fine. Just play the cross for it. Well, I guess you can't actually play the cross. You just play the end and... yeah. Anyway.
But then, around that same time...
oh, the Chaos
fucking... we're both right.
Chaos Universe is in that set. Oh, man. Now that's a card.
What set? He wasn't there?
Yeah, he is. Chaos Breakers in set 5. This is the one that, where you take a locked card and you wait. Kind of less one and flip Persona Flip. If you have a hard card with Chaos, choose one of your opponent's rear guards. It's open. Your opponent calls a card from their hand to that circle, locked. And if they have 2 or more cards, you get to lock a card. Wow.
This what?
I hate these cards that make you call stuff from your hand, and then eventually, inevitably,
Oh.
they got that one that makes you put stuff in your damage zone. Ugh,
You're right.
scary.
You're right.
But this was
is
not the
when that
beginning. This was
started.
not the chaos meta yet. They just kind of it made them disgusting.
Chaos Breaker had yet to. His cards had started to come, but he had yet to hit the board.
Yeah, he was a scary but respectable control option, but he wasn't taking over any metas. I played against him at a finals of a local tournament to get a congratulations Spica. Very strong player.
But this was also when. But at this time, there was also one other deck that was running quite rampant because of a legend deck. This is when we started getting more and more specialty decks.
The Overlord deck was not very good, was it? I played that.
It was okay, but we didn't get Overlord yet. This wasn't Overlord's release.
Oh.
This is around the time of the almighty holy dragon of complete grade 1.
The Sank Guard. Yeah, this became the defining meta thing for a hot minute. I was waiting for this.
This is when one of the scary metas kicked in, because it was like, for a time frame, Sank Guard was, for a better word, the most dominant deck to run
by far.
And this was also when we first received our first ban list.
Oh yes, ban list.
This was also the time of our first ban list, guys. Before we hit set 6, this was our first ban list. This is when Bushi started saying we got to take this a little more serious for competitive.
Yep.
And what they did to try to save everybody from Soul Savior running through you, they told Soul Savior, you are no longer allowed to run with Jewel Knights.
Oh yeah, the Ash. This was the special hit to Sword Me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Sword Me was kind of ruining the game for a hot minute. That card is so strong.
And for those of you who don't know what Sword Me does,
I'll flash her on the screen so they can read her too, but you can read her as well, so we can see it together.
Mm-hmm.
One sec. Do you discard for Sword Me?
I'm getting it.
Okay, fine.
I'm getting it.
I believe on call.
Jewel Knight Sword Me. Auto. Counterblast one card with Jewel Knight in its card name. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to one grade 1 or less card with Jewel Knight in its card name. Call it to your rearguard circle and shuffle your deck.
Yep, it didn't seem very strong, but if your grade 1s and 0s, which make up more than half of your deck, are the only counterblasts you need, then, well, you're quite likely to hit 1, and, if you're running 4 Sword Me's, you'll probably hit 2 or 3, and you're expecting to hit 2 or 3 of those hits in your damage zone, so it's perfect. And then the restriction they did to it was they made it stitch your grade 3s have to be Jewel Knights, but grade 3 Jewel Knight cards are garbage, so they banned Sword Me. Great.
Yep.
And that did kind of fix things.
But they didn't actually fully ban it just yet.
Because what if somebody was playing Jewel Knights? They would be so upset. Their only good card gone.
Yeah, but remember, during this time for Jewel Knight players, because they only ran Sword Me for a time, this is when they kind of got forced to play Jewel Knight Ivan to kind of meet the requirement of the grade 3 for Jewel Knights in the deck.
I don't...
For a short period of time.
I didn't get to play against any of the Sankard stuff after the hits, so I don't know too much about what they did after that.
So for Sankard, they did have him for a moment be run with the they did run him with Ivan, which was the Legion Mate 2 Sword Me, and it was for a small portion just so they could meet you have to run grade 3 a grade 3 Jewel Knight in deck.
I thought you had to. I thought all of your grade 3s had to be Jewel Knight cards. Because that's how they kept you from using it with Sank Guard. I thought that's what the restriction was.
It was for a short period, and then they kind of let it go.
Oh. Well, yeah, that sounds about right. Because eventually it was, they were starting to slowly embrace the power creep. Just a little bit. Not each and every set is just packed full of oppressive cards, as it ends up becoming the theme near the end of the G era, which is kind of why I think they ended up deciding to do a reboot, because they were like, we don't want to, like, how can we, if we keep making the cards any more ridiculous, the whole game is just going to explode. I didn't think it was that bad, but I really liked it.
Bad.
It's mostly because we ended with my Bermuda stuff.
Yeah, but then they said we're gonna take time later, and this deck came back. Since we're really important about meta, this deck came back months later.
Eventually, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, and actually, it came back around. It came actually back because of one important card.
I don't know what card that is.
That card was Holy Dragon Sanctuary Guard Regalier.
Was that the grade 4?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Its ability was Vanguard. During your turn, if you have a heart card with Sanctuary Guard in its card name, all your units in the front row get 3k for each of your grade 1 or less rear guards.
Ooh. That's pretty good.
And that was literally the whole strategy for them. You go into Sank Guard, you call it a day, you win.
Ride Sank Guard. Turn cardboard sideways. Win game. Strategy achieved.
Exactly.
Now, I think it's too bad, though. They went through all that trouble to try and fix the metagame, but then Set 6 comes out, and oh my god. Set 6 is full. All the top end is totally fine.
Are we at the Dark Ages yet?
Now comes the Dark Ages. You thought Time Leap was bad. Welcome to the true Dark Ages. At least they attempted to hit Melim, but they ignored this for way too long. The top of the set is full of all sorts of just cool stuff. We got Night Rose isn't there, but we got Diablo stuff. We got some new alt mile cards. We got all sorts of fancy shiny high rarity cards. But if you just keep strolling down all the way to the common sections, you'll find some very unassuming looking 7 Seas cards, and you're like, oh, for that cool budget deck? Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yes, there's
the anti-G era deck.
Grade 1 Rush. 7 Seas Grade 1 Rush became a absolutely just disgusting meta-defining threat that just takes down everything in its path. Even if you were playing a non-G deck, it would still give you a run for its money. Like, if I was playing Prisms against it, I would win, eventually, if my opponent didn't sack me. Maybe.
Yep.
But, like it still had a fighting chance in even-ish matchups like that. But then if your opponent needed to stride to do things, you couldn't win. Like, they didn't go, they rode to grade 1, and that was it. They just turbo milled their deck, called it all the rear guard, and just smashed you as fast as physically possible. And all your G-break skills can never go off because you can never stride, and that's part of the reason why they changed the stride rules. But it was a little too late because after they finally kill it, they changed the rules.
No, it didn't get changed till after everything else was said and done.
Yep, they changed the stride rules at the end of after the era change, right? Yeah.
Yep. But we also, after this is when we got our first Fighters collection.
Oh yeah, the Fighters collections were phenomenal sets. I love them. They live on in the premium collections now.
Yes.
They're full of wonderful cards.
Some of the best cards in this set, in the first Fighters collection set, especially to us Gear Chronicle players, was Chronos Command Dragon Revolution. This was my favorite boy.
Oh yeah, isn't this a step up from your OG stride?
Yes, it was, but he was one of the best utility cards.
I think I remember getting dumpstered by this once or twice.
Because in the first Fighters collection, I think it was. I think it was Fighters Collection 2013.
Probably.
No, it wasn't. Sorry.
Oh.
No, not 2013.
Probably the next
We
one.
had
then.
more Fighters Collection than this.
Oh, yeah, the first Fighters collection, I believe, was it was like kind of near the beginning of G era. They gave every clan a stride, so like every clan had one. Most of the cards weren't very good. Most of them are very bad. Like the Bermuda one, Prism Duo Necturnia, was mildly garbage, but the rest of the cards were like pretty okay. You know, I don't think too many of them had on-hit skills.
Okay. Sorry, guys. It was actually in 2015 was our first Fighters Collection, and these guys were not really... These guys were all just like buffs to people who hadn't had one yet.
But the next
like,
one,
this is where
2016. We are in 2016.
Yes, but this is where clans got like their for us English players. This is where we got our sort of universal stride units per se.
Yeah.
For some people, this is where a lot of decks got their excess stride pieces.
Yeah.
Their stride slots.
Because some decks didn't have any
correctly,
yet, based off of its release timing.
Yeah, but it wasn't they didn't have any, it was just they didn't have any good ones. But this is one where people just sort of got their fodder ones. Except if you were playing Royal Paladin, one of the old boys. If you were playing an old boy, you got an actually decent stride. If you were playing anything new, you really didn't get anything decent. You didn't really need it yet.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of typical of these sorts of things, because, you know, the new cards are the stronger ones anyway, so we don't need to waste too much time supporting them all.
Yeah, but then we went into the 2015.
Oh, we missed a sick Aquaforce clan booster, the first of two. Low-key, the beginning of Z series, very last part of G. There was a small Aquaforce clan booster that had some other clans attached to it too, but it don't kid yourself. True. It was mostly, I believe it was like almost half Aquaforce cards. It was crazy.
Yeah, but then we had this one 2015 this is the one I was referring to, guys. The 2015 one was where I was referring to Chronos Command Revolution. This is also where we got No CL, the grade 4 No CL. We just got a lot of good units here. But then
this was the year where we got Fighters Collection 2 and Fighters Collectors 2015 and 2015 Winter, which came out around the same time as the Aquaforce booster.
Yep, but this is when things started going downhill.
Yeah, because like I said, right after these amazing sets full of all these wonderful things to diversify the metagame and let you play with cool, powerful G units, well, now your whole deck is based around G units, idiot. How do you beat the deck full of common cards? You actually don't. And it topped like every tournament, every day, every week, forever. Yep. It was bad.
Yep, but then we also had one other issue start up. This is after that set for G. This is when we got into set 7, and this is when if I remember correctly, this is when the Dark Ages started.
I mean, they had just started. The Dark Ages started with the release of Grade 1 Rush, because they didn't do anything about it for a long time.
And then, so people had to deal with it, but it wasn't completely bad.
Yeah.
It was bad, but it wasn't, like, out of control, because the only clan that really had problems with it was, ironically, Gear Chronicle.
I mean, a lot of clans had problems with the Grade 1 Rush deck, though. Like, a lot. That's why it was so good, because it hit everything.
But this is also... What was it? Okay, so... It was also around this time we actually got deck changes too, because before set 7, when we received Fighters Collection 2015, 2016, we got the brand new mechanic.
Oh, I almost forgot to mention before we get up to that. I totally forgot to mention in 2015 winter, a very, very powerful card was snuck in the double rare slot. Bladewing Sullivan. That card totally changed Dark Irregulars and took them to a very powerful meta contender. I mean, like, it was never meta because the deck was extraordinarily difficult to pilot, but it was very, very strong. And it could and I don't think it could handle 7C's grade 1 rush, like, at all, but it could handle everything else. It could take almost anything you could throw at it.
Yeah, but you also did you forget what also came in 2016?
A lot of things came out in 2016. Let me
2016 provided everybody like that one extra stride unit that supported their archetype
Oh yeah,
skills.
and then the G Guard, right?
Yeah, this is when we got G Guardians,
which helped out a lot, except against grade 1 rush. Very not helpful.
Still helped everything except grade 1 rush. I think that happened. Let me double check. I think that happened like we got that in the following Fighters collection.
Potentially.
I know they fixed that problem.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere in 2016 and potentially the beginning of 2017 was when they finally did something about grade 1 rush. I believe when I went to regionals in 2017, it was restricted, but people were still playing it. I believe John got literally 9th place at Anaheim that year with grade 1 rush after the hits.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Sorry, guys. There it is. Okay, this is the crayon elemental we needed. I need to look for. Seabreeze.
Oh, Seabreeze. That was very helpful. Not against grade 1 rush. This is why it wasn't. See, they made Seabreeze to help you deal with I forgot to mention Ripple Rush was very strong at the very beginning as well. Because like I said, when there's those higher end decks that are using their powerful grade 4s and stuff, if you're just rushing them with very powerful grade 1s and 2s, they tend to not be able to get as much value out of that because you can close out the game before those cards can do much.
Okay, yes. It did come out in 2016. 2016 was when we also got Seabreeze, which was to help divert the issue of the grade 1
not
7Cs rushing.
No, it was not for 7Cs. That card was specifically designed, that's why it's written the way it is. It is specifically designed to counter Ripple Rush, because if your opponent has not ridden a grade 2 or greater card during their ride phase, it says that. Because Erica's Ripple Rush would override a new grade 2 superior riding during their battle phase.
Yes.
And it perfectly countered that, and that was like the meta. And then like right after that, Seabreeze came out, they made the 7C stuff. And that doesn't help you against 7Cs if your opponent's at grade 1. You can't use Seabreeze. And that is why that became the anti-meta contender.
But remember 7Cs went up to a grade 2 and stopped.
No. They wouldn't. I mean, like, they would before you Seabreezed, but after they printed Seabreeze, they stopped doing that. Because they would never let you Seabreeze. Because then you could use U-break skills. Unlike if they knew you weren't running Seabreeze, sometimes they would like ride their one. I think they like had a cool grade 3 rear guard they could superior call from the drop zone. So like sometimes they would bring a G zone. I think John had like a pile. I think it was like a pile of Cray Elemental cards.
He used to bring an entire G zone even though he never used it.
Yeah, I think it was like 4 Obadiah and then like 12 G cards or something. I don't remember. It was something very memed here, just so people weren't suspicious. Because when your opponent sets down no G zone, you're like, I get the feeling that somebody's playing Rush. It's kind of like that today. Somebody sets down no gifts, and you're like, what's happening? What am I about to play against? You're playing against usually some garbage Bermuda junk that I've made. That deck is so funny. But after this era of I believe we're ending.
Seven ended the first half of the G era.
Yeah, because I believe after that we enter like this like they have like mini series. I think there was like 3 mini zones. There was like the first part then I don't know what you call the second part, like the
This
Gears
is,
Crisis or whatever, and then like the last one was Z series.
Yeah, this was the start of the Gears Crisis. This is where we had all the this is where we got also introduced in set 7 to Chrono Fang, we got Chrono Fang, Gallop. This is where we got introduced to Titan and other stuff like that. This is when Gergwit got his first evolution, as well as his first Stride evolution. And it was after this we did go into GB8, which led us into the very beginning of the Crisis.
Yep. Funny you say you didn't mean to say GB8, but I'm gonna actually check what collection those GB8s came in. I believe that was 2017. The
Start of GB8 was 2016. Was near the middle summer of 2016.
Yep, and then I believe near the very end of this era, we rounded out with powerful GB8 cards come out near the end.
Powerful is kind of a.
Okay, so some of them are good. Some of them are really good. Like the Gear one, like gives you an extra turn. The Spikes card is
Spike Bros had the best one.
Yeah, by far. It literally says win the game. What? Who printed this card? Shenanigans.
This is also around the time Brave actually started becoming playable.
Yeah.
For Royal, so Brave started becoming a viable deck choice. Bloom also became a viable deck choice. Messiahs started getting more support.
Yeah. They're fleshing out all this stuff so that inevitably when they do something about 7Cs, the rest of us can top tournaments. The meta's coming nice and healthy. Everything is mildly playable. There's at least something you can do for your clan to make to get your opponent's off card. I mean, maybe not Mega Colony at this time because it's been a minute since they've gotten support. But like when Darkface came out, it was okay, and they will be getting some very nice stuff near the end.
And then we ended the 2016 time frame is when Time Leap reached its perfect form. This is where Time Leap reached their perfect form.
Was that wait, you said set 8 is when they reached their final form?
After set 8 is when Gears reached their final form for Time Leap.
After set 8, right. And that
because remember, after set 8 is when we got the clan booster.
Yeah, and then the clan booster was the ZTB stuff, right?
Gears of Fate was Gears of Fate. This also came out the exact same time as the
trial deck.
This came out also side by side with the Gear Chronicle trial deck.
Yeah,
new one.
The ZTB trial deck.
Was introducing the ZTB mana.
Zodiac time
mechanics. Archetype, not the deck though, because the deck itself was kind of
it was hot trash on release, but eventually it overtook Time Leap.
But Time Leap once all these cards for the Gears of Fate set came out, Time Leap was done. It was one of the most dominating decks.
Oh yeah, this is when I finally perfected that Coral variant, because it was starting to really get to me that everybody's playing Time Leap and they're all smashing. I'm like, I'll show you smash, and then they were like, oh, I cannot beat Coral, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought, and then I lost to literally everybody else except for 7C's Grade 1 Rush. Oh, that felt good. I beat those guys.
This is where we got Gear Chronicle for all of Time Leap and its glory. This was also one of those first times where Gear Chronicle got a reprint of their most important Stride unit after all these years.
Oh yeah, this is when they slowly begin their reprinting. They used to never reprint cards, but very slowly they've been getting better at it. Now we're getting clan collections, a whole reprint set.
Yeah. Because in this set they reprinted Next Stage.
Oh yeah, you do kind of need that because your Next Stage.
And Gears of Fate they reprinted Next Stage as a rare, but his pull rate was he was a rare, but it was really low.
Oh, so right, they did that with Olivia. He's a triple rare in terms of the internal rarity of the set, but he has rare
Yes.
foiling, which pissed me off. I'm like, why are you gonna make it so rare and then make it not shiny? But it's okay, because then at least it doesn't curl. It's fine. But it goes in your
But
G
then
zone.
this-
It can't curl. Ah.
But this is the funny part. This is actually when the meta starts to speed up, and we kind of just speed up through it now.
Yep. Right around now is when we're starting to hit the 7Cs stuff, right?
This 7Cs pretty much got killed.
Around now or the next set, they ban it.
Bermuda started getting all their good support for G era.
Oh yeah. No, they got 3 sets in G era. Oh, this was the one with Bert. No, that's not the right. It's not taking me to the page. I'm sorry. Okay, now we're at the page. Yes, this was the one with Prism Image Sunshine Vert, released over the summer of 2016. And this had all sorts of very, very useful cards in it. It had Frontier Star Coral. That's the one that makes Coral pretty playable. It's if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have even bothered making that Coral Crossride deck, because the Crossride is really bad. Prism Image Vert gave that was the best build out of this set, and it took Bermuda up to Rogue status. I took it to regionals, and I almost made a final cut. I was in day 2, but I got sacked by the very end. But it was a pretty good time. It was a pretty healthy format, because after the 7Cs hit, everybody could play stuff. It was a very good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, this set also had that Olivia reprint I talked about too.
Yeah, but then we introduced, then around that same time, they introduced us to Set 9, Divine Dragon Caper. And before this triggered is when Bushy hit another ban list.
This
is when they said Time Leap got hurt.
Yeah,
this is when they hit 3 of the 4.
Did they hit I think this was also the same list for Grade 1 or for Rush 2, right? Did they hit both of them?
Yeah, this is when they also hit Aquaforce's deck for their Rush deck, and this is when Garrett Chronicle lost Time Leap altogether.
Oh yeah, because the Rush deck was still strong. Like, even if you had Seabreeze, Seabreeze is great, but Seabreeze also costs 2 Counterblast and is a vanilla. So you can also kind of use that to your advantage as an Aquaforce player to make your opponent do nothing and use their resources inefficiently.
But this is also the set where Zodiac Time Beast starting to get printed. We got introduced to Luard.
Oh yeah, Luard. That became their new cash cow. They love Luard.
This actually introduced one of my favorite stride units in general, especially for ZTB. Split Pegasus.
Ooh, Split Pegasus is so cool.
Split Pegasus was the card that said Counterblast 1, flip a card in G Zone, and choose a ZTB on your field, and choose 2 units that are a grade lower than it. That was plussing out the wazoo.
Oh yeah. Because then, you could call card bonds, call skills, and ooh.
And then it also had the skill in G Zone face up, give 1,000 to all face up ZTBs in your front row.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was super useful. Because then if you stride it and you Persona flip, then at the end of your turn for the rest of the game, your units hit for 13. Which is pretty good. So you hit the Coral deck that I made, and I'm like, oh.
Once you start getting those numbers, you start hitting decent numbers.
I was wrong. I'm sorry. There was I'm pulling up information for our next thing. There are actually 4 Bermuda sets, not 3. I need to find the last one for when we talk about it. Keep going.
But then it was pretty much Luard. And Luard was like the real pull for that set, because that's when you got introduced to all of Luard's fun stuff. Then we got into set 10, which introduced Royals, Shadow, which for Royals they introduced more Brave support. Shadows got more ritual support under Luard. Gold Paladin got another evolution for Gurgit. Tachikaze's got their Dragon Emperor. Murakumo had more support for them with Yasue. You had Nova Grappler getting more support. Neo Nectar got more support.
Yeah, not too much of meta note specifically from this set. Last set, Luard, I believe, became
Luard
actually, I think Luard became a very powerful meta staple.
Luard started these sets were pretty much all boost Luard. While we say we care about everyone else, but we don't really.
Nah, Luard kind of took over everything. But I believe in the next set, is like most of the stuff's just kind of, nobody really made most of it into topping stuff. But this there's the gold paladin stuff in this set was actually low key really strong. Yeah, you could pop the heck off with gold. You could call like 20 dudes in one turn and you attack them for like 100 billion. It was pretty cool. It was like this I believe that was the Garmor variant. Yeah.
It was next set, honestly, though, that actually started hitting meta again. This is when you started getting meta again.
Yeah, like the last two sets had like a meta piece or two and like kind of did things, but nothing was really shaken up in the grand scheme of things. But in the next
set 11 is when everything started going meta. This is when more decks started being meta. You had Royal
this set was
Paladin
very strong.
This is where Royal Paladin got more Brave support, but this is also where Royal Paladin got, if I remember correctly, this should have been the set where, yeah, there it is. This is also where Blaster support came in, because around this same, just a couple months earlier, the Blaster Blade Legend deck came out.
Yep, this went pretty, and just before as well, the third Bermuda set came out, which is full of all sorts of very powerful cards and will be our saving grace in the very soon coming Chaos Apocalypse because of a very useful GR, very splashable. It was kind of lackluster. Not very much stuff in that set was actually very impactful. Like, it was all sorts of stuff is like set up for that next, like without a bunch of the cards in this set, that final set wouldn't be as good as it is. But because of this set, the next Bermuda set is going to blow a lot of people's expectations out of the water, so to speak. And I think this is, since this is 17, I believe the Fighters Collection 2017 came out around now, which introduced those GB8s, so that now that there's no more rush decks, the format was slowing down, so now people are getting really good finishers, in quotes. They're not all, they're not all the same.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
We also did.
Also during this time though, you forgot there was a card that came out here too. And for those of you who played Gear Chronicle during this time, we had gotten some really good like key piece cards in this set for us. This is where Gear Chronicle got Transit Dragon. Their grade 1.
That card's so good.
The one that on boosting, if you have a Chronojet Vanguard, it
slides the soul and you draw a card.
Slides the soul, draw a card. If you I think really if I remember correctly, this is also where we received our beautiful grade 2 as well. That was a double R, if I remember correctly. I don't think I'm wrong.
I think it's a double R. I'm looking for to double check Transit Dragon's rarity.
Yeah, this is also where we got Cruising Dragon. One of the best, I repeat, the best grade 2s in this game.
Oh yeah, that card is really, really good. Pulsar Transit Dragon, yes, it was a rare. Okay.
And then for those who don't know,
Cruising Dragon
this
is a double
card,
rare.
Cruising Dragon was the card that started to bring timely ZTB into the light as a valid threat.
Yeah, you could combine them now.
This card made ZTB actually looked like a threat.
I mean,
This
honestly, I think it was Transit Dragon low-key carried that deck. Like, without that piece, I would have won so many Gear Chronicle games, but because of that, they lived with, like, one card in hand after forcing out one from line way too many.
Combination of both. It was a combination of them both getting a grade 2 that searches everything and a grade 1 that helps build your soul.
Yeah, Mirage cards are a big deal.
Hand. For those of you who, if you're looking on screen, for those of you who are just listening while you drive, Pulsar Cruising Dragon did this. GB1 Rearguard Continuous. During your turn, if your Vanguard with Chronojet in its card name, this if there's a Vanguard Chronojet in its card name, this card gained 2k. The reason that was important was everything was at an 11 base. Cross rides were no longer a thing.
Yep.
And he had one more auto skill. Rear guard, counterblast 1. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, look at 3 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 Zodiac Time Beast from among them. Put it into your hand. And put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. Why this card was so important? ZTBs had slowly started to take over Gear Chronicles deck, and their perfect guard was now a ZTB.
Speaking of perfect guards, I'll get to that when you finish.
And so it was very easy to get your perfect guards now for Gears because you had this grade 2 that could search it. But then, speaking of that, the perfect guards started gaining skills to recur themselves. Do you want to go into that part, Vivi?
Yeah, some of the perfect... They had access to an extraordinarily powerful perfect guard as well that took the deck up to another level. But they were doing all sorts of interesting things with perfect guards. Like Maiden of Divine Spring Lien and Royal Paladin is a perfect guard that you can pay the cost with. Instead of discarding, you Soul Blast one. But you have to be on a Blaster Blade or a Alfred card. And Royal Paladin doesn't actually have any cards that Soul Charge, really. So it's a very difficult card to balance. They would usually run like 2 or 3 of it. But lots of clans, like Shushu's got one in the set that had come out previously. It's very similar to Gears, and Luard had very powerful perfect guards that if you had... They usually had a way so that if one was in your drop zone, and if the other one was also in your drop zone, or on the field for some reason, you could usually find some way to either bind it, or spin it, or whatever, and then you could add it back to your hand. So with your 2 perfect guards, it would become 3, and then your 4 could become 6, which is... 4 perfect guards becoming 6. That alludes to something.
For example, we'll use I'll use Gear Chronicles since you were talking about the different skills. Gear Chronicles was Steam Tamer Arca. Her skill was auto Sentinel skill. When you use her, you have to discard a ZTB. A lot of cards started requiring you to discard Arca.
Yeah, like the Shushu one requires you to discard a Shushu as well.
But that made it fair,
yeah,
and it kept it from being abused everywhere.
True.
But she had a drop zone effect. Her drop zone effect was for GP2. If there is another Steam Tamer Arca and a Zodiac Time Beast trigger unit in your drop zone, you bind the Arca and a trigger, and you get to return one of those copies to hand.
So good.
So what that meant for people is, okay, I double used 2 PGs during an early rush,
and then you draw the third one and it becomes 5.
And then I drew a trigger. Okay, I guard with the trigger. On my next turn, I get my Arca. I get 1 copy back. However, this also made this card a really good first ride. This started changing the mindset of players for a lot of decks where their PG, because it had a way of recurring itself from drop, became your first ride target.
Yeah, that
you need to get it back.
That philosophy lives on because perfect guards are some of the weakest cards in your deck. You sometimes in premium nowadays you'll find yourself riding them quite often so that your opponent can't damage deny you. And then they ride a 4K and they're like, now what do you do? And I'm like, I don't take damage and it's my turn. Sad. Premium is so weird.
Yeah.
But that's about
But
it for this set. Full of very powerful cards that change the metagame. But a lot of the cover cards aren't that great. I believe Gancelot Peace Theater was actually quite good. But like Mystery Flare was like cool, but it wasn't actually. They didn't actually go into it almost ever. Like it was very cool.
Mystery Freeze wasn't that good. The ironic thing was the real face card for Royals. This is when the Royal Paladin Legend deck started showing its face and was sitting there as on the throne as one of the best decks in format.
Oh yeah, that deck was really good. It's
that
not comparable to MLB now. It's way stronger. Like compared to what's around it.
Yeah, but the actual face card for Gears in this set was Avenir Phoenix.
Oh yeah, that card was pretty good. Just for like most of the and like Ziegenberg finally made Kagero have some more versatile options.
Ziegenberg. This is also when Domination actually started being something.
It was something. I played against it. It was very unimpressive. Honestly, this first set was not very good. It became respectable with the next set, and actually became so respectable this next. Oh wait, I don't. Actually, it's not the next set. Never mind. I'm tripping. But ZTB. It's Dominate and ZTB become two of our biggest ultimate meta contenders not in this set specifically, but near the end as we approach the end of G, and we're talking about the meta for this tournament coming up, as I'm letting you all know what the meta might be like. I mean, it's going to be full of casuals like me who will be playing decks that they find fun and enjoyable, but still, it'll probably be very similar to the meta that used to exist. So it's very important to go with this broader concept.
But it's like you said, Mimi, the actual real threat was when stuff started coming in the set after.
Oh yeah, set 12, Dragon King Awakening. Now this had some very good cards.
This had bangers. We had Dragstrider Luard. We had one of my other hearts, Chrono Dragon Gearnex. We had Flower Maiden. We had the Flower Maidens.
We got Helheim. That was a good finisher with Luard. He didn't have to play it in Claret Sword. Or did you? Let me double check.
No, but Claret Sword got an evolution state.
Yeah, I played against it. It wasn't as good as Luard, but it was more fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was more fun, and people were happy to have Claret Sword. This is when the deck finished. This is when Gear Chronicle technically finished itself for its first
right?
wave of. This is when it finished itself for its first wave of ZTB. Because this set is the set where Pulsar Spearhead Unicorn came and finished the deck.
I thought Gear Next. Well, I mean, I guess you didn't. I guess it really wasn't that much better than doing like next stage shenanigans. Really, like it was just slightly better if you really think about it. But you're right. Unicorn. Now that is a very powerful piece.
For those of you who never saw the card and didn't experience it, what this card did was, if you have a Vanguard with Chronogenesis card name, it got 2k like its friend Cruising Dragon. But this one's skill was, when this unit attacks with Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, look at the same number of cards from the top of your deck as the number of your Zodiac Timepiece units. Call up to one Zodiac Timepiece with a different card name as this unit from among them in the rearguard circle, and put the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order.
Oh yeah.
This game Zodiac Timepiece multi-attack.
On top of their Timepiece multi-attacking, of course.
Yeah. But there was also a reason why. Do you remember what made ZTB actually more dangerous than people gave it credit for?
Was it the sheep?
It was beat the sheep.
I love that card.
This boy.
Stand triggers with skills, man.
This boy actually comes like 2 sets later, and that's the scary part. But this card is kind of important for the entire deck, so it has to be talked about a little earlier.
Oh, is he not? Is he not out yet? Oh no.
Sorry, correction. He came out in Divine Dragon Caper. He came out that early.
Oh. Yeah, but he's not so easy to mesh with, because like he's ZTB.
Then he got reprinted in set 14 because the pricing of the card was about to get stupid high.
Yeah, because
of how important it was.
Okay, that's why he got the reprint. I see.
So for those of you, because we know those of you are new, but for those of you who remember the age of ZTB and all this, his skill was GB1. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle from your hand, until end of turn, it gets this effect. Auto, rearguard skill. Put this unit into your soul and choose one of your other rearguards and put it on the bottom of your deck. At the end of the battle that your unit attacks the Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your Zodiac Time Beast rearguards and stand it.
Very strong.
Do you remember?
Because you could restand, wait, isn't Cruising Dragon on attack?
Yes.
Because you can restand the Cruising Dragon. Now, that's really strong. That's synergy.
You're able to this card was able to restand Cruisings. This card was able to restand Pegasus, Unicorn. And this card's like key factor was you were using this when you would use this on the gear next turns. Your main point of this card was to use it with gear next.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Oh, because you get the extra drive checks and you can restand the thing that got power too on top of that. Very good. Very good.
Not just that, it also helped Gear Next be more free because you kept using Spear Unicorn you kept Spear Unicorn to keep gaining attacks after the fact. Since you had all your face up you had your 2 face up unicorns, so all your cards were already at base 12.
Pegasus, right?
All your 9s were at base 12s, and then your base 11s were at base 13s.
Oh yeah.
And stuff just started hitting hard.
Not as hard as Battle Sisters, and which snuck their way into the set. That Battle Sisters snuck this way into their set and we didn't immediately take it, but they became a very established threat. And they managed to sneak in Stillwater Festival Deity Ichikishima managed to slip its way into this set. That card is a whole can of worms. Ugh.
Yeah. But this is when honestly, as much as people want to say, oh, it was so dominant between Gears and it was dominated by Gears and
but honestly, this is one of my favorite formats in the game. Set 12 format was extraordinarily diverse and had so many options. It was so fun.
It was diverse. It even was diverse in set 13.
Oh yeah,
like set 13 was even diverse.
Yeah, it was so good. I mean, like the very end of G era, they kind of dropped the ball, but right here, this is like peak G era form was GB12 format. So like, if I guess this might become like the GOAT format of Yu-Gi-Oh. You know, where they're like, people just come back to play like their favorite OG format. Set 12 and potentially maybe set 13 might end up being that, but I think because set 13 is the beginning of the new era, the Ultimate Stride era, so having it be set 12 as like our Vanguard GOAT format, which maybe I'll host my own set 12 tournament and play Prisms again with my new Wedding SP vert. That'll be nice.
Yeah, but this was that, like you said, this was we were actually in like the heyday of Vanguard. Things were really people were pretty balanced. There wasn't everybody was pretty much on an equal playing field for a good minute.
Yep.
Give or take a few clans, but
yeah,
we all know
it's been too long since Mega Colonies. Well, actually, I forgot to mention, but the technical boosters were 2 very small little sets that came out on the side, and they were filled with clans that people don't usually play. If I'm not mistaken, they both had the same clans, but I'm just quadruple checking real quick. One had Spike Brothers and Nubatama and Tachis, and the other one had Murakumo Megacon. Oh, okay, so they were different. But these technical boosters were jam-packed with extraordinarily powerful cards. This, I guess the last one came out in 2016, so it's not super relevant to this, but they got Mega Colony support in that. So even Ob Tyrandus was in that set. Mega Colony was still a thing. Like your opponent could trip up into you, and if they didn't know what they were doing, they could totally choke similar to Gridora, as it becomes like their clan theme in the future. Is that if you make any misplays, you lose on the spot, and then with Gridora, you don't know which one of the many plays you have to make is the misplay, so it gets really challenging. But now we are reaching the very end of the good. Well, I mean, it's still kind of good times, but we're approaching the very final Dark Age, the Chaos meta, right before the very end final meta that we'll be talking about for the tournament setup. Ultimate Stride comes out, and this is that Aquaforce clan booster. Okay, so maybe not half of the set is Aquaforce clans. If I look at the clan breakdown, Aquaforce gets 22, which is the plus 2, which is the most by not a significant margin. Angel Feather got almost as much, but who cares? It was an Aquaforce clan booster, and they were pretty strong. They had all sorts of cool options. And most importantly, though, so this was the introduction of the Zeroth Dragons, which became powerful win conditions for every clan, and also lose conditions if you don't know what you're doing. They are very. I wouldn't say it became the win con, but it did become your muffin button when things went wrong. They were supposed to be win cons, and some of them ended up being that way. Like, Drachma's not really, like, a win con, but, like, it's something. Megiddo is, a win con in, Staller, GB, in, Grand Blue builds. It's not, like, a win condition in Aquas, but, like, you can. But it was kind of your win condition in Ange, too. That was how you would beat them with that deck back in the day. Ultima ended up getting, the win condition of golds in Premium still. Because if they don't beat you by rushing, they have a really good grind game. And then when you have 4 Excel circles and you stand your whole board and give them an extra crit,
triggers?
Yeah, it's Ultima's really good. After that, Stark was like a thing, but it wasn't the best.
Was an A tier. He was actually still a viable.
Okay. When he came out, he was really strong, but like he hasn't aged as well. And Dust was really good when he came out. Now that was a thing. People made Spike's turbo builds around that. And DI.
Do you remember what happened? Do you remember why Dust was so important back in G era too?
Because the guard restriction rules, right?
Not just that. He was the reason. He was the first card Bushy listened to the fans about the effect.
Oh yeah, they were about to release him where you actually could deal you a 6th damage burn. They were about to release him in that state. That was crazy. They harder routed him, luckily. So he is mildly fair to play against. But just imagine, it's like, I spread this card, take your 6 damage. Is it a heal? Okay, we're done. Bye. Lame. No.
And then he turned everybody to zeros?
Yeah. He's not so good anymore. I can't. Me and Curtis had a whole conversation about this a while ago.
He's not good as he used to be. Because decks are games end earlier than they used to.
Sorta. I can't put my. I had a whole conversation with somebody about this who played the decks extensively, and he had a very, very astute point that I don't want to destroy with my oafish mouth. But I think after this, well, I guess we should finish set 13 before we got too much, so we can finish talking about all the meta. And then we've gone over pretty much all the Zeroth Dragons. But the rest of this stuff had really powerful cards for, like, Overlord and whatnot. That was meta for a while.
Overlord got his evolved state in the set.
Yep, Overlord is still playable, and even after the rest of the stuff comes out. He has a special thing that lets him fight in Chaos meta. Aquaforce got a card that lets them fight in Chaos meta. Because Chaos meta is coming up very soon. I believe it is the next set. Not because it's not a main set. I have to pull up its actual thingy so I can.
No, it wasn't a main set.
Because they got.
But this is like where all the.
Here it is. It was a December 1st.
All the main clans got their last bit of support, and then they gave us that one set of
Wow, the first
one. Extra set of. They gave us that other set of legacy support again, and that is where the Dark Ages started. Yep,
they're like, okay, we're gonna make a clan booster for Link Joker. Everyone loves Link Joker, right? So they gave Chaos some very, very broken cards, and they gave Messiah, some slightly less broken cards, but it didn't matter because Messiah had a good matchup against Chaos, so they didn't need to be better, and Chaos kind of did. But Chaos was sort of taking over the format, and so were Messiahs, and it was, we were fighting against
really
it.
Kind. Mimi, you're being really kind to Chaos Breaker with your words.
Yeah.
Chaos Breaker didn't take over the meta. He was the meta. He took over the world. He almost killed the game.
Yeah, he almost ruined everything.
People
And
thought,
he wasn't done yet.
People thought card games taking over the world is just an anime situation. It really happened.
Oh yes. Because after they get their clan booster, they did 2 of these little nation boosters, which were, it doesn't sound like it sounds cool. It doesn't sound like the end of the world. But the first one, if I'm not mistaken, was I'm trying to find the special series, maybe? No, it's not in special series.
It was nation sets. Yeah, when every nation got some sort of support, got some sort of reprint support.
Unique
reprints
boosters?
as well as a
Title
resist
boosters.
unit.
Clan boosters. No. Where could it possibly be? It's not in combination boosters. It's not in technical boosters. Is it in extra boosters and I'm dumb? Oh, yeah, it is in extra boosters and I'm just dumb. Okay, so first, there was the Awakening Zoo, which came out before the one that truly ruined the game, and there were some cool cards in there. There was, Gridora, which has, been able to stand the test of time and won Worlds a while ago. It's very strong. Don't sleep on bugs. Mega Colonies, Neo Nectar, got really strong. Asha became beyond expensive, but nobody ever played it. Very confusing. And then
it was really strong though.
Yeah,
it was really, really strong.
I guess all the Zoo stuff was beyond powerful, but nobody played it. It was really weird.
Blue Asha actually was stronger than people were giving credit for, but like you said, no one played it. We used to have somebody who played it. She was doing like 150k per column per the front unit, and it was just getting ridiculous numbers.
She's why they became force. And then after that, before the final booster of the second to final, because the final one came out after set 14, it was the Bermuda booster that ruined the game, kind of, sort of. After the Awakening Zoo came out, the Stargate, which was because Link Joker needed more support, they finally got the last few cards they needed to be basically unbeatable. I mean, somehow in the end, he managed to take them down. But Messiah's got this disgusting card that basically reads win the game too. It's kind of gross.
Yeah, but Chaos Breaker's real problem was nobody had a way around it for a time being. And then when they gave everybody the way around it, Chaos Breaker kind of just said, yeah.
I mean,
and it couldn't stand up to certain cards in set 14.
Yeah,
because of that, it kind of died away.
Yeah, we tried to force it out with the rest of the meta. Like, Bermuda was being played specifically because it hard countered Chaos, because if you stride Ange, you can bounce your locked cards for some reason. It's worded that way just because. So you can get around that.
Messiahs were an answer to it.
Yep, Aquaforce had a very check unlock card. Overlord could handle it. And now with the new set, Victor got a cool unlock card. That could handle.
Chronicle gained a card to help it.
Yeah, lots of Vanguard focused hands could handle against it. Mega Colony could kind of deal, because okay, you locked my dudes, but you can't call things, and it's a noodle fight. And you may have Stark, but I do have Zola. So they just kind of stared at each other, and you're like, I don't know, maybe you'll deck out first. Maybe I'll deck out first. Who knows? I actually have no idea how those how those matches would have gone. That would have been quite something to see with your eyes. But with that final set, this Divine Dragon Apocrypha, set 14. This was when they released the last Xerath Dragons and Geese, which, yes. Oh, Geese is how you... Why would you play Chaos against Geese? You can't beat them in time. Maybe that's why they stopped playing it.
This was also one of those. This was that set that also did something pretty interesting. This had the most interesting SP pack in the game to date.
With the Geese SP pack? Oh man.
Yes, where it had Geese in every Xeroth Dragon.
Now that was a pack. Ugh. Imagining like being a little kid and opening that and being like, whoa, all the power is mine. That would be the greatest thing ever. My goodness.
And then not only that, we had Geese had his deck, and his deck was really strong.
Oh yes, but he wasn't like the only thing in the meta. This was when the other the 4 meta contenders become Bermuda, Geese, and then the 2 other things from this set. Well, I guess Royals but
it was like 5 or 6. We had Geese, you had Brave, you had
Fetus Brave.
Final form. Fetus Brave. You had the final form of ZTB.
And the final form of Luard. And the final form of Dominate with Rene.
Yep.
And then the Bermuda set that comes out after this. And those are your big 6.
Dark Irregulars. Don't forget, Dark Irregulars had their final form at this point.
They were, yeah, I guess, but with this, those were still pretty good because of their guard restrict thing that you could do, because you could combo guard restrictions with Dust. And now your opponent big loses, but you can guard with grade 2s, and 5k shield is all you need. It's not, but it's really not. But they probably won't be the big thing for this tournament. But those are the big ones. Once again, we got Rene Dominate decks. We got Heritage.
This is also when they introduced shortcuts. Remember, this is when they introduced Stride shortcuts.
Oh yeah, with the Luard thing. I guess they had these before.
Luard had it, but Luard had he had like a major shortcut. This is also where Gear Chronicle got a shortcut because Chronojet Z said you could bind a grade 3 from drop to Stride instead of discarding from hand.
Yeah, Bermuda got one the last set, and then they get a new one in the next set. They had Tira last time, and then they get Ange this time.
Yep.
Which who would be by far the default deck of the format, but with Ange hit, you can just kind of play whatever Bermuda deck you want. They're all actually very strong. Well, not all of them, but I don't want to spoil which deck I'm playing. That's next week's deck, or that's next week's thing, as we'll be talking about well, I guess actually, because we'll be pre-recording, we won't be telling you how the tournament went. But I can go over my deck after the tournament, so nobody will know about my secret tech.
But Divine Dragon's pretty much where we ended G era, and we ended it kind of on a semi-high note.
It was fine. Like G era was okay, but the meta, like Rene and ZTB were not, like, if you weren't playing a deck like that, they weren't really that fun to play against. It was like those big, like the big decks kind of were a really big step above everything else. Like even things like Aja and whatnot. Like actually, don't sleep on Mega Colony. Mega Colony's good, but Mega Colony has a bad Geese matchup, so maybe that's why it wasn't played. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but a lot of these decks were like sleepers outside of Gears and Nubatama and Shadows, and then you had like right underneath them you had Brave Altmile, Brave Altmile, which was a actually decent sleeper because it was actually a good fight against Geese because their numbers reached high enough.
Oh yes. Oh, speaking of Geese, I guess I didn't mention that specifically the Geese build that was most used was Angel Feather Geese at the time.
And it was Angel Feather Geese.
What? Who actually played Geese Luard? Come on.
There were people who played Geese Luard.
Yeah, but those people weren't very good. The Geese thing was cool, but your deck would be just better off if you were just playing Luard. You know? Like, it gave you, like, a cool option, I guess, but I feel like both pure Luard and, the, I guess, quote-unquote, pure Geese Fairy, where you're playing it with, no CL specifically, was what they were specifically doing it with at the time. And then when immediately, it's the beginning of Premium, they swapped from, Angels to using OTT stuff, because you could use the new triggers. And they've kind of been chilling on OTT this whole time because they have access to a really good Legion, so you don't deck out in the mirror match because that's a big deal.
Yep. But then this is where it pretty much ended. We didn't really see any major changes.
No, we did. There was one last set, Leroy. Did you forget? G-Clan Booster 7. Hold on. Click. Divas Festa was the final set, and oh my god, there was one card in here that when I read it the first time, I was in disbelief as I tried to quantify exactly how many cards I was getting. Exactly how many pluses is this? So when you read this skill, Auto, Vanguard, Soul Blast 1, when this unit is placed on Vanguard or when your G unit stride, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 2 cards in any player's circle that's not a Vanguard circle and return them to the hand. If one or more of your opponent's cards were returned, you draw a card. If one or more of your cards were returned, search your deck for up to 1 card with Generation Break 2, reveal it. This card has a Generation Break 2 skill, by the way. Put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. Continuous Vanguard Generation Break 2. When you would discard cards from your hand to pay the cost of stride, you can call those cards to rear guard instead. Well, so that's what we're thinking. So you could write it, and you can stride in 1 turn, and then the stride is essentially free, so that's plussing off of that, and then because you rode and strode, you get +4, so the cards have, well, and then you rode, and sorry, I had to decline a Discord call. People, I guess I'm popular today. But that's like, I guess riding, it's technically a minus, so like, it's a +4 and then some, because, well, you could be abusing on-call skills. It's so much. This card became, oh my god, I cannot right now. Hold on. Okay, but Anja became the big format-defining threat, because with all that drawing, but the piece they were searching for was a very aggressive piece, GB2 Shushu Lucina, who on call had a Soul Saver effect. 3 of your units gain power plus 5,000. And if you gather all 4 of this, all 4 of them, then you can give multiple units plus 20,000. And then with the Megiddo, they get to attack, all 4 of those attacks get to go through. It's very strong. But after that, restrictions to Ange, you can't play her to the full extent that she deserves to be. Because if there's only one, then you can't search up others of her, and it kind of ruins it, because meh. But all the other options are pretty good. Harmony is a very strong option. They were doing this cool, like, Harmony Ange thing that you could do as well. Abusing Ulk, and I believe her name is I believe it was Grade 2 Shandy. Yeah, Grade 2 Shandy.
Yeah.
And then Coral is probably the best deck. That'll be, spoilers, what I'm playing for the tournament. It'll be Bermuda Triangle, because what else do I play? But they also introduced Trios, which became a very powerful card when they changed the way the stride works, especially comboed with Ange. Who worked well with Rivier, but Rivier, her pure was not very good. Reindeer was like a meme, but that was Reindeer Geese. If you get 6 drive checks, you can make it work. They got a G-Guard, or they got, not to mention, a special perfect guard that I alluded to earlier that you can run up to 6 of in your deck, which combos with their very powerful banned G-Guard that gets plus 10k shield for each Sentinel in your drop zone. So if you got 6, she gets plus 6. Oh, and face-up copies of herself, by the way, so you can be flipping G-Guards. Oh, you forgot to mention, the reason that people could handle the Chaos format so well in the first place was because of G-Guards, like the Aquaforce one. And
yes.
Who had the other one that you could... Well, it was Aquaforce...
There were G-Guards that started affecting fields more.
Not Luard. Yeah, they would let you countercharge or unlock a unit if you turned them face down from in your G zone. So you would use, there was one in Aquaforce, there was one in Victor, and I believe there was a few more. Decks with those were really good into Chaos, because if you G guard and then if you had a card that let you flip anything, you could flip one of those, and then you could unlock a card during your main phase, which is big clutch.
Yeah, and then but because of that, then they also that also made it so the decks that could counter Chaos Breaker weren't able to deal with the decks that couldn't counter the Chaos Breaker. So it created a
triangle, sort of, I guess.
Equilibrium. It kind of equaled out again for a small time.
Yeah.
But then also with that and all the clan boosters, we ended with one other important mechanic, and that was special heals. We had slowly got them early, but we started getting special heal triggers that had effect based on, if there were some that were based on if you were used it to guard with a specific G Guardian, and then there were ones that just
you're right.
Just said if you G guard it using this card, and there was a second one in the drop, you could counter charge, soul charge.
Yeah, you bind. So when you so there was the kind that was like, they were really meh. I think it was that one Fighters collection where everybody got the same G guard. Like if you called specifically whatever G guard that was tied with it, it would, like, I think you got to loot or something. You got to draw and discard, which is like fine, I guess. But they had like 4K power instead of 5K, so a lot of people didn't run them. But the one that you could, if you had a heal in your drop zone, when you discarded it to call it G guard, you could bind it and another heal to countercharge or soul charge, which was pretty clutch. Speaking of, I forgot to mention, the real reason the Bermuda set was actually so good is because of a lot of the commons are very powerful. They have a critical trigger with 0 power that can double the power of the unit it boosts and return itself to the hand, and increase its critical, which is super useful. And they got access to a very cool engine using this card called Interesting Hope Sharitsuyu, which has an effect that lets you Soul Blast 1 to take a Shizuku card in your soul and add it to your hand. And if you specifically chose a grade 0, there's only one of them in existence, then you get to countercharge and soul charge. Which pays for, that soul charge is paid for the soul blast you just did, and the countercharge pays for the counterblast of the effect of the grade 0 Shizuku, who reads counterblast 1, put it into your soul. Oh, Forerunner, duh. Counterblast 1, put it in your soul, check the top 5 for grade 3, and add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. She's the generic grade 3 searcher for the clan, but if you have access to a way to recur her infinitely, she can cycle through your deck rather quickly to help you pull out lots of grade 3s, and that's kind of where Bermuda's grade 3 train started for their new V-era thing, where they're all about all grade 3s all the time. Started here.
Yeah.
And with that, that's pretty much everything for G-era. We went over most of its history and whatnot, and we should go over one more time what the big beefy meta is going to be for anybody interested in the tournament coming up, which of course is your favorite Gear Chronicle. So dominate.
The big beefs were honestly, as much as there was Dominate and ZTB, it was still kind of pretty spread out.
Yeah, it was still pretty, but those were like if people were, if you were a team league or whatever, people's teams were usually like Bermuda Triangle player, Dominate player, ZTB player. Those were usually the team league squads.
Those were the 3. You would have the splash of either Shadows or Brave.
Or Geese sometimes. All those would just pop in.
Geese. Then you also had option of the last
Battle Sisters showed up once or twice. Don't remind me.
Yeah, but then you also had that one last little rogue slot was also Blue Asha. Like every unit that got like this Orgador, like every unit that got like that final stage evolution was kind of like in that area of was viable in the last ending.
Yeah, pretty much anything.
Not so much.
Yeah, pretty much anything that got support at the end there was able to be played in that. So like anything after set 12, I guess, see, because that's why I guess set 12 has to be our GOAT format. Because anything that comes out after set 12 is just way better than everything before. I mean, it's not like way better.
Blasters and Overlord were still playing too.
Yeah, but Overlord got support in set 13, so it counts.
Yeah, but you were able to still play him, Overlord. Blasters were still playable, because their support was just straightforward.
Yep.
almost perfect.
The format is healthy, but if you are looking to build your deck in any specific way to counter any of the other meta decks, those are the three you should be looking for. ZTB, Bermuda, and Dominate are the ones you want to watch out for. Like, I've got some special anti-dominate tech who I cannot wait to show off. It's very fancy.
Especially ZTV. But because we are state using, because the tournament is running everything, it's using current ban list. You still also have access to Time Leap is playable again, so that's an option. Let's see.
Oh yeah, because full time. Yeah, you could go full Time Leap because there's no TikTok worker restriction. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Time Leap's viable, especially because everybody still deals with striding.
Yep.
Nobody's base is higher than 11, so everyone still gets hit capability.
Oh well, no. There's one girl who's running some 13Ks. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But honestly,
pretty much everything we needed to go over to get everybody hyped up for a G-era tournament.
Yeah.
I am beyond hyped for this. I cannot wait to have a trip down memory lane and smash everybody. And I really hope that whoever wins the tournament, if it's not me, can come on the podcast and talk, because, well, if it is me, then the big surprise, our special guest is not special. But I guess if I win, I'll invite my opponent on, but I don't want to toot my own horn too much and make promises I can't keep. So I'm just gonna say we'll have the winner, or we'll have one of the finalists on the podcast if we can, which would be amazing. Which won't go up necessarily next week because of back end and recording and whatnot. So it'll come up in like a week or 2 or 3. We'll see. But I guess we should let everybody go, huh? We can't keep them for too long. 2 hours is asking a bit much of people.
Yeah, we can't reminisce that long on the good old days.
The good old days. And I miss you.
So this has been your friendly Time Lord Leroy,
and
the
Miss
Mermaid Professor. And we will see you guys in the next video. So, later!
Bye!